At 24, Michael Jackson's son finally confirms what we knew all along. The music was art, and he loved making it, but for Michael Jackson the songs were always a vehicle for something bigger, a message about healing the world and lifting up the people around him. For years, the public only got fragments of his oldest son, a quiet boy shielded by masks, blurred photographs, and tinted car windows nobody was allowed to look through. Now, in 2026, that same son is standing in front of cameras on purpose, promoting a film he helped bring to life, and finally speaking in his own voice about the father the world only ever saw on a stage. Prince Jackson arrived carrying a name that already meant something to millions. Michael named him Michael Joseph Jackson Jr., though almost everyone in the family called him Prince, a nickname passed down from Michael's own grandmother. He was born February 13, 1997, at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles, not long after the History World Tour wrapped. Michael reportedly told friends he finally had a son to carry the Jackson name forward, and that idea shaped how he raised him from day one. Prince's earliest years played out at Neverland Ranch, a 2,700-acre property in Los Olivos built to feel like a permanent childhood. By the late 1990s it held Ferris wheels, bumper cars, a roller coaster, a miniature train station named for Michael's mother Catherine, giraffes, tigers, and a chimpanzee named Bubbles. Michael often said he built the ranch because fame had taken his own childhood in Gary, Indiana. For Prince, that meant growing up around amusement rides and quiet, gated paths instead of an ordinary neighborhood. That same protection defined how the public saw him. Whenever Prince, his sister Paris, or his younger brother BG appeared outside the gates, their faces were usually covered by masks or veils. Critics called it strange. Michael's reasoning was simple: if people never got a clear look at his children as kids, they'd have a real shot at moving through the world unnoticed as adults. He wanted them to eventually take the coverings off and enjoy an ordinary afternoon at a park without a swarm of cameras. Inside the house, none of that mattered. Michael wanted to be known simply as Dad. He woke the kids up, cooked simple meals, read to them, and stayed close through the day. Staff who worked at Neverland later described a father who talked constantly with his children, explained things patiently, and rarely left their side. There are home videos of Prince and BG thanking him for birthday cakes and ice cream, small, ordinary moments that reveal a very different man from the performer the public knew. Michael also made a point of avoiding the harsh discipline he experienced growing up under Joe Jackson during the Jackson 5 years. Those close to the family said there was no yelling in the house, only calm conversations about feelings and behavior, with Michael encouraging his children to explain what they felt and why they had acted a certain way rather than punishing them out of anger. Alongside the softness came clear values: humility, gratitude, and service. Michael limited material gifts, assigned chores, and reminded his children constantly that money didn't make anyone more important than anyone else. Their homeschooling stretched beyond textbooks. He took them to hospitals, orphanages, and communities facing real hardship so they understood that privilege came with responsibility, and that kindness had to be practiced, not just talked about. Prince absorbed all of it while living inside a strange contradiction: one of the most famous children on earth, yet almost invisible as an individual, known to most of the world only as Michael Jackson's son. His voice and personality kept almost entirely out of view. Everything changed on June 25, 2009. Prince was 12, Paris was 11, and BG was 7 when their father died of acute propofol intoxication at the family's rented Holmby Hills home. Within hours the tragedy became a global event, and less than 2 weeks later, on July 7, 2009, the memorial at the Staples Center, watched by an estimated 31 million people in the U.S. alone, became Prince's first major unmasked public moment. Days after that, a Los Angeles court granted temporary guardianship of the 3 children to their grandmother, Catherine Jackson, and life shifted from Neverland's private world to Catherine's home in Encino, with regular school and ordinary routines for the first time. By January 2010, Prince and Paris were standing on stage at the Grammy Awards accepting Michael's posthumous Lifetime Achievement Award, no longer hidden children but visible heirs to a global legacy. Tabloids turned every school photo, family outing, and stray comment into a story, including persistent rumors about Prince's paternity. In 2015, he addressed it directly, acknowledging the rumors could be true while making clear that Michael was, and always would be, the only father he ever knew, a measured answer that already showed how carefully he'd learned to speak in public. Prince attended the Buckley School in Sherman Oaks starting around 2010, trying to just be Michael to his classmates rather than a symbol of celebrity, carrying his own backpack and doing ordinary homework. As a teenager, he gravitated toward the business side of entertainment rather than a music career, taking small jobs and internships around film sets, red carpets, and production offices, paying close attention to budgets, schedules, and how projects actually got built. At 16, in 2013, he worked as a correspondent for Entertainment Tonight, interviewing the cast of Oz the Great and Powerful at its press junket, his first real on-camera assignment, even as he said his real goal was producing, directing, writing, and acting rather than performing. After graduating from Buckley around 2015, Prince enrolled at Loyola Marymount University to study business administration and entrepreneurship, graduating cum laude in May 2019. Along the way, he founded King's Son Productions, a full-service production company whose name nodded to his father's title while carving out his own lane, connecting him to projects such as documentaries about the Jackson family and Michael's legacy. In 2016, while still in college, he co-founded the Heal Los Angeles Foundation with a fellow Loyola Marymount classmate, drawing on his father's 1992 Heal the World message but narrowing the focus to street-level problems in Los Angeles, homelessness, child hunger, and the lack of safe after-school spaces for at-risk youth. That's the backdrop fans already knew. What's happened since is where the story catches up to today. In 2026, Prince Jackson stepped into the most visible role of his adult life, executive producer on Michael, the long-awaited biopic about his father, directed by Antoine Fuqua and starring his own cousin, Jaffer Jackson, as Michael. The film traces Michael's rise from the Jackson 5 through the bad era, and Prince has said his goal was to make sure his father's story was told accurately and with the context most people never got. Speaking to ABC News around the film's April 2026 release, he described his father as one of the most misunderstood public figures in history, and said he hoped the movie would help audiences understand the cause and effect that shaped who Michael became. Prince was present at the Los Angeles premiere at the Dolby Theater on April 20, 2026, alongside his uncles Jermaine, Marlon, and Jackie Jackson, and at the Berlin premiere days later. He's described the experience of watching Jaffer transform into Michael on set as an emotional shock, admitting it took real effort to hold his composure the first time he saw his cousin fully in character. His instinct, he said, was simply to want to hug him. The film went on to become a genuine box office phenomenon, reportedly surpassing $977 million worldwide by late June 2026 and being described by trade outlets as the highest-grossing music biopic ever made. Around the same press run, Prince opened up on the Australian morning show Sunrise about what growing up at Neverland actually felt like from the inside. He explained that only as he got older did he realize how unusual his childhood really was, describing family hangouts at the ranch with elephants and giraffes wandering in the background as if that were simply normal life. He also reflected on the isolation that came with fame, noting that having more than 40 cousins around helped him never feel truly alone, even if the way he grew up was undeniably unique. His sister Paris, now an established musician, model, and actress, took a different path with the film. She chose not to participate in the biopic and has spoken publicly about wanting to keep building her own creative identity apart from it, most recently continuing her music career following her 2020 debut album. His youngest brother, BG, now in his mid-20s and still known for guarding his privacy closely, showed up alongside Prince at both the Los Angeles and Berlin premieres to support their cousin Jaffer, marking one of his more visible public appearances in years. Prince's personal life has moved forward too. In August 2025 he got engaged to his longtime partner, Molly Shermang, after roughly 8 years together, and he said he hopes to someday take notes from his father's hands-on parenting style if he has children of his own, while acknowledging that recreating the exact circumstances of his own upbringing wouldn't be realistic or advisable. The charity work hasn't slowed down either. Heal Los Angeles has continued expanding its programming around food insecurity, housing instability, and educational access for underserved youth, and the foundation announced its signature King of Popcorn fundraiser would return to the family's Encino estate, Havenhurst, for 2 nights in August 2026, with proceeds again funding those same community programs. Tickets for the event were set at $500 per person per night, with organizers noting demand was expected to be high given the rare chance to spend an evening inside a home so tied to Jackson family history. It's the kind of detail that captures how Prince operates. Rather than leaning on a famous address for attention, he's turned it into a fundraising tool for kids who will likely never set foot in Havenhurst otherwise. Prince also used the film's press tour to talk about Heal LA directly, telling ABC News he'd invited families supported by the foundation to attend the Los Angeles premiere so they could experience the red carpet and meet cast members firsthand. He framed it as an extension of something his father modeled throughout his own career, using a public platform to spotlight causes that had nothing to do with record sales or box office numbers. It's a detail that ties together the two halves of Prince's adult life, the entertainment industry work he chose instead of music, and the charitable instincts he says came directly from watching his father operate at home. Through all of it, Prince has kept returning to the same lesson his father repeated throughout his childhood, that you never stop learning, and that the moment you do, decline sets in. He said that principle guided him after college and continues to shape how he approaches both his production work and his charitable efforts. He has also remained protective of his father's legacy in a different sense, pushing back whenever commentators try to crown a new king of pop, arguing that the scale of what Michael built across music, touring, and humanitarian work over decades isn't really comparable to any single modern metric. Seen together, the three Jackson children have taken strikingly different roads. Prince built a life around production, business, and philanthropy. Paris moved into music, fashion, and acting on her own terms. BG chose distance and privacy, stepping into the spotlight only rarely, most notably to support Jaffer at the Michael premieres this year. Yet whenever any of them talk about their father in private, the picture stays remarkably consistent: a dad who taught constantly, protected fiercely, valued learning above almost everything else, and stayed present in the small, ordinary moments most people never got to see. Nearly 17 years after his father's death, Prince Jackson isn't hiding anymore.